Today on Locked On Canadiens, is Kirby Dach ever going to attain the potential we have projected onto him?
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to episode 1212 of Locked On Canadiens. It is a special holiday mailbag episode for all of you, and it is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day every day as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every day free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. My name is Laura Sab, also known as the Active Stick, and I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Ian Poirier, also known as Maybe It's Ian. Ian, how ready are you for this holiday mailbag that we are doing for our listeners?
Yeah, we left a little bit in the tank in last week's mailbag. It was overflowing, so we have a bunch of questions from last week's mailbag that we are going to get to, and a lot of them are, pretty. They're going to be maintained as stories for the Canadians for at least the next few months. So there's always timely questions in our
We are
mailbag.
also helped
Ready to
out
get
by the
into it.
holiday roster freeze.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Like we can't. There's nothing happening right now, so we'll see how long that stays the way it is.
Yes. If you're seeing this on YouTube, you will see that I am still in my holiday getup. It is holiday week. We are encouraging everyone to take it easy, but we do want to thank you all for taking us along with you on your adventures, whether you're resting for the holidays or shopping or. All right, Ian, let's get into our mailbag with our wonderful listener questions.
Yeah, let's start with Matt Crawford. Looking for level-headed responses here. When we move UFAs at the deadline, all things being equal, like not part of a multiplayer package, what kind of draft pick is a reasonable return for each question and each player? And a bonus question: name a team per player that fits as a destination. I have a list here. Joel Armia. What's a reasonable return for him, and what team do you think could use a player like Joel Armia?
Doesn't he scream Dallas to you?
Yeah, they love Finns down there, don't they?
Mm-hmm. He
Yeah.
screams Dallas to me. Like,
Yeah.
that's a guy that Dallas is going to take and hopefully go on a playoff run. I think with Joel Armia, like, you're looking at like a fifth or sixth, unfortunately. Like, I think he brings a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I think he brings a lot. I just think that people don't necessarily understand how much he brings.
I
Right?
would say maybe a third round pick for Joel Armia.
Okay.
I think because of his penalty kill acumen, and I mean his role that the Canadians' fourth line right now. I don't know if folks have noticed, but most of the last few games, every period, Marty has started that line.
Yeah.
He leans on that line to get energy going, to get the team moving their feet, to get guys finishing their checks. I think a lot of teams will look at a player like Joel Armia, big right-hand shot forward, good hands, decent shot, very good penalty killer. I think he could be a guy that a team adds and is like a very under the radar, one of the best trade deadline ads of the year.
Right.
I think Dallas is the perfect team for Joel Armia, though. I think that's like, I mean, it seems like that was pre-written, right? Like that's going to just happen. So that's a great answer for Armia. Dvorak, what are we looking at for Christian Dvorak?
I don't really know that they're gonna be able to move him at the deadline. I'm gonna be really honest. But I do feel like, honestly, I don't know where he would go. But a team looking for a third or fourth line center is going to be like somebody who's ready for a deep playoff run, and they're really good, and like that's the caliber of person they put in their bottom six.
Yeah, I mean, if they are able to move him, he's going to be the one that uses up their last retention slot. Because they're going to need to eat half to make that a palatable contract for somebody else to take on. You know who needs some center depth right now? The Toronto Maple Leafs. And I don't know that there's a deal there to be made. But, Christian Dvorak, while, earlier on this season, we kind of were all over the guy for just being, a fourth line, third line, fourth line player, despite his contract, despite what we traded to get him. Like, that stuff is all under the bridge. We can't do anything about that. That third line is a great utility line for Montreal. And I every time I watch Christian Dvorak, the only thing I can think is if this guy had NHL average finishing, he'd be incredible.
Yeah.
We'd be thinking about this player in a completely different light. The problem is the puck gets on his stick in the offensive zone, and it might as well just die. Like because he can't do anything with the puck most of the time. So I don't know. I feel like if you eat half, you can get a third or fourth round pick for him.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that a team like Toronto, who needs center depth, they might be someone who goes after a player like that.
Or you think they're going to call Montreal? I guess it's Kyle Dubas that has the issues with Montreal.
Yeah. I mean, Lou Lamoriello called him for Thomas Plekanec. So
Yeah,
and hey, would you look at that? Christian Dvorak and Mitch Marner are on the same line
there you go.
in London in the OHL. So there you go. Jake Evans, this one's going to be tough because the more he plays, the less I want to get rid of him.
Oh, I don't want to get rid of him at all. And not only that, like I feel like the perfect team for him is the one team I never want him on, and that is Winnipeg.
Oh no.
Right?
You're right.
It's so right. I'm 100% right. But also, like I don't want him going to Winnipeg. I like he's the Ben Sherratt of this year. Like he's going to be the one that fetches the most return. He's going to be the one where all the NHL GMs are going to be out FOMOing each other, and like there's going to be like that to me. And we have to make peace with this, guys. We do. He has a lot of value. We have to make peace with the fact that people are going to be calling Kent Hughes about him on the deadline. Where I'd want to see him is somewhere like Colorado. Like I feel like anytime there's a player that like I love too much, I'm like, it's okay, Colorado can have him.
Yeah, it's so true.
Right? Or like who's like most likely to win the Stanley Cup again? Like like somebody like Vegas, somebody like Florida. One of those teams, like teams that I don't necessarily like at all, but have a good chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that makes him duplicative in Montreal is what makes him valuable elsewhere, which is that he's a right shot center.
Yeah.
Which there aren't a ton of, and if you can win faceoffs and play in a lower role, you're going to be very valuable. Montreal has too many of those, to be honest. They need left-hand shots at center, which is a good problem to have, especially when you have Jake Evans.
Yes.
I kind of see a team maybe like Edmonton that decides they want to go after a guy like him.
I don't want him to go there. He won't win.
Look, I don't make the rules. I just say what's on my mind. And I think that Edmonton would make a run at him. But I do like the best case scenario is he goes for like a first round pick and Montreal signs him again in July. Like that to me is like awesome. Cannot complain about that.
I feel like he would want to come back. Like Jake Evans is definitely a player who would want to come back to Montreal.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's ingrained himself as part of this rebuild, and I think he would want to see it through.
Yeah. The question is, are the Montreal Canadiens going to call him? And they might not.
Yeah. All right, last one here. David Savard. I feel like this is a guy whose trade value plummets every shift he takes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating, but boy, there's not a lot left in the tank with that guy.
Okay. Here's the thing though. He's being played too much, right? So let's say the changes that they've made with the trade and like hopefully Struble playing more. Let's say some pressure goes off of David Savard and he's able to, maybe that might be part of the reasoning for the trade, right? Like the trade deadline is in March. So there's going to be a while. Maybe he can regain some of that. And I think if he can, it's going to be a third round pick. Because it's definitely teams look for a shot blocker around the time of the playoffs, particularly teams that do have depth everywhere else in the lineup. Like he would not be a core acquisition. He would be a complementary acquisition. Whereas I feel like Jake Evans would be a core acquisition prior to a playoff run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see a ton of value. And this is the difference, right? I'm not one of the general managers making these trades. Those guys probably see value in a guy like David Savard.
Yeah, they love shutdown defensemen.
Year in and year out, those guys run the market, right? And I'm trying to think of like a team who could use a player like that. And it's sort of like all of them can talk themselves into wanting a player like that, right?
That's a player that would go to Edmonton.
Yeah, that's a player that could go to Edmonton. That's a player I could see Tampa reacquiring.
Yeah,
we're going to see Tampa this weekend. Their penalty kill is middle of the league, and I'm not saying David Savard's going to make them a better penalty killing team, but he's a guy that they can lean on for more penalty kill minutes if they need to. A guy they already know well, a guy who has won there. Like I could see Tampa falling over themselves to get to bring that guy back into the fold because guys love their guys, right? I
Right.
think Breezeball will look at him and go, yeah, let's get him back in here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think I'm kind of in agreement with you. I think the only one we're really in disagreement is what Joel Armia is going to fetch. And for me, it's not because he doesn't deserve that or merit that. It's really more just because, we just talked about it. The guys making these decisions
Yeah.
don't think the same way that we do. And I think that they won't appreciate the multifaceted nature of his game and what he brings.
Yeah, he's the guy I'm most fascinated by, right? Like
Yeah.
like Evans, we know his value. We know his value to Montreal. We know his value to other teams. Like it's just a matter of will he stay or will he go? With Armia, we're pretty certain he's going to go. But like it could go any way. Like could a team throw like a B-level prospect to get Joel Armia? Like I have no idea.
Yeah, we have no idea. And we'll probably be able to find out in March. All right. In the meantime, we have plenty more mailbag questions from our amazing listeners coming up. And in our next segment, let's talk about whether or not we expect Kirby Dach to attain the potential that we as Habs fans have projected onto him. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. If you love sports, you're going to love PrizePicks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pixmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, PrizePicks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. This week on PrizePicks, I'm eyeing the hockey board. And I'm looking at Patrick Laine for more than 2 goals and for Lane Hudson for more than 2 assists. It's so simple to make my picks and have fun with my friends while potentially cashing out fast. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. PrizePicks, run your game. All right. So if you are just joining us, we are doing our belated mailbag questions that we did not get to in our Scott Matla mailbag on Friday. And we got a whole bunch of really amazing questions. We did not want to let them go until another week. So here we are with your holiday mailbag. There's a lot of talk about Kirby Dach in this market, and I think we're just gonna continue to perpetuate it.
Yeah, this is a question from Zach from a while ago that we missed, so apologies for that, but it's still it's still a topic of conversation in Montreal. So, hey guys, it seems like I'm in the minority when I preach patience with Kirby Dach. He's coming back from a serious injury, much like Caulfield and Xhekaj last year, that takes significant time to play again, and even more to play well. Bottom line, I don't think it's fair to be worried about his play until the last 20-ish games of the season, and I think his play has been trending in the right direction. So let's have our weekly. We should just have a segment like like what's Kirby Dach doing this week?
Yeah.
Like because it feels like that's sort of what we're gonna do until he's either A, back up to speed, or B, we're bailing on him.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we have a rumor roundup. Maybe we have a weekly Doc discussion or something.
Yeah.
Doc talk.
Yeah.
Help us name this segment, everybody. All right.
What's up, Doc? That was
yeah.
right there. That's
Yes.
great.
Oh my God. Okay. This is why I need a co-host. He is the brains of the operation. I just show up and talk a lot. All right, Kirby Dach. I think the last couple of games I haven't been as mad at him as I normally am. And we have talked a little bit before about how, a lot of us might be putting too much pressure on him, given the seriousness of the injury he's coming back from, right? I think one of the things that we talked about in a previous episode this week is the Canadiens, it's not a lack of effort. He's not coasting out there. He just has no idea what he's doing sometimes, or he has no idea where he is sometimes. Sometimes it feels like he has no idea where he is, or he's forgotten what he can do.
Yeah, I'm with Zach on the, we talked about the on-ramp for Kirby Dach,
Yeah.
right? It was always going to be a long on-ramp for this player. We understood that. It always made sense. He's coming back from a really devastating knee injury. The problem is that the issues that I see with Kirby Dach are not related to his knee. It's related to his head. He's making a lot of really strange decisions. Oftentimes he's getting the puck, especially watch him in the offensive zone, especially on power play 2. He gets the puck along the wall, and it doesn't seem like before that puck got to him, he had any idea what he was going to do with it, right? That's a problem. It's a difference between him and a player like Slafkovsky. Slafkovsky goes into the corner to grab a puck, and you watch him go into the corner, and he's turning around and he's looking behind him to scan to see, once I get this, what am I going to do with it? Because I'm not going to have a lot of time to figure it out. A lot of time, Dach is getting the puck along the wall and then trying to figure out, okay, let's look around and see what's going on. You can do that some of the time. You can't do that all the time. I also think that one of the things that is holding Kirby Dach back right now is this dude has never met a stick infraction he didn't like. He cannot control his stick. He's taking high sticks, hooking penalties, slashing penalties. Like he cannot stop himself. And I that was part of his game when he was really effective, was his stick checking. He's really good at it when he wants to be. Problem is right now it's just not working at all. He's finding himself he's finding himself below the puck almost at all times. And it's been a challenge for him to figure out how to play that role effectively.
Right. And all of the stick infractions you just named, they're all panic plays, right? All of those are things players do when they have no idea what to do, but also when there's pressure on the play, right? There's a lot of pressure on the play. And I think in Kirby Dach's case, a lot of the pressure comes from himself.
Yeah.
Like a lot of what do I do with this? I'm just going to make the worst decision possible in this moment. That comes from him. It doesn't come from you're a rookie player and there's 3 giant NHLers barreling down on you. That's where you usually see those panic plays a lot of times with immature players or players who just frankly aren't good and they're outmatched. But that's not what I see with Kirby Dach. I'm not looking at this guy and going he's outmatched. I'm looking at this guy and I'm going, why did you do that? Why did you choose to do that in that moment? Look at your life and look at your choices, Kirby Dach.
Yeah, and I mean he's third on the team in minor penalties taken with 12, which is a lot. The only 2 players who have more than him are Arber Xhekaj, which plays defense. It's kind of to be expected, and Josh Anderson, who has not been on the referee's good side this year.
At some point, I want to do a study on this Josh Anderson thing. I really what happened this year. What happened this season? What did he do? Did he say something to a ref and then they all talk to each other?
Yeah,
they're all trying to get back. I have no idea. My theory is just that he's too handsome and they can't handle it. That's my theory.
Yeah,
they're picking on him. But no, and that's true. But Arber Xhekaj, that's what you're expecting. It's the role that he plays. Not only is he a defenseman, he's a physical defenseman. He's a guy who's tasked with being physical, and he comes with that reputation too, right? There's a lot of things that make it 100% likely for Arber Xhekaj to be one of the most penalized, if not the most penalized people on this team, right? Kirby Dach and Josh Anderson should not be anywhere near Arber Xhekaj in that ranking. They simply should not. The next person should be like David Savard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or James Krubel.
Yeah, I mean, and these numbers were numbers I pulled before the first or during the first Detroit game. I haven't pulled them since, but it was Anderson in first with 16, Xhekaj with 14, Dach was at 11. Now he's at 12 because he took another one against Detroit. And then Hudson had 10. Hudson is a rookie. He's 20 years old. That's completely understandable.
He also plays 1,000,000 minutes a night.
Yeah, and he also doesn't play the penalty kill. The problem with Xhekaj and Anderson taking all those penalties is they play the penalty kill.
Yeah.
Anderson plays the penalty kill so that Suzuki doesn't have to, but when Anderson takes as many penalties as he does, Suzuki has to play on the penalty kill. So it just kind of defeats itself. Look, I mean, I go back and forth with are we being too harsh on Kirby Dach at this point in the season? But I don't know what else we can be with him at this point. The expectation is that he's centering the second line on this hockey team.
Yeah.
Regardless of where his head is at, where his knee is at, he's playing with Patrick Laine, right? At some point this has to work.
And it's important to note too how many of Patrick Laine's goals are on the power play.
Yeah.
Right?
At the time of this recording, all of them.
All of them, exactly. There's only one game between now and when this episode drops. So watch him get 3 goals on the at even strength against Columbus. I'm looking at this and I'm that's a huge telling stat too. It's not just that the power play is working for Laine. We also have to talk about what's not working for Laine, right?
Yeah, and he's shown signs of the 5-on-5 play coming together. He's made some moves through the neutral zone where I'm I think he's starting to figure it out. It seems like his hands and his brain are moving faster than his legs at this point, and that's where Laine's big issue is right now. With Dach, I don't necessarily know that that's true because we
I
see
think they're
him.
moving in different directions, right? Like you're talking about
Yeah,
Patrick Laine, his hands and his brain are working faster than his legs. I
yeah,
think with Kirby Dach, his hands, his legs, and his brain are going in 3 different directions.
yeah. No, it's so it's going to be a story until he figures it out, or until the Canadians figure it out for him, in a sense, right? So I don't know that we've had the end of this conversation. I don't know that we're being too harsh on this player, but I do think it's important to realize, like, he's centering the second line. They need success from him.
Yes. Okay, so let's do this, right? We'll make a New Year's resolution in which our what's up doc segments or conversations are centered around constructive criticism, wherein we say, instead of doing that, he might have done this differently.
Sure. There you go. We're
He might
workshopping this live. I hope folks listening realize, like, we're showing you how the sausage is made. We just built this a segment in front of you.
And you'll be seeing a lot more of it, obviously, as we continue to watch his progress. Like, we're not giving up on Doc. Like, I want to make that really clear. Like, there's still a lot of time left in this season alone, and we talked about it before. We want to see him improve before the end of this season. Like, I think the last 2 months or so will make a huge difference in the way we talk about this guy. But in the meantime, we have plenty more mailbag questions coming up from you guys, including a Taylor Swift one, and that is coming up in just one moment. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Particularly this time of year, everyone's making their New Year's resolution if it's related to finances. Rocket Money is where to go. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, we have our, I think this is our final mailbag, obviously, for 2024. So we are going to talk about New Year's resolutions/wishes for next season. But first, what other questions do we have in our mailbag this week, Ian?
Yeah, let's start. We'll head to Kyle Bedford here. If the Habs rebuild were a Taylor Swift album, which one would it be?
Okay, so I'm gonna say the album Red, and the reason is because the song 22 is on it. So anyone who's not familiar with Taylor Swift, the song lyrics, the chorus is, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. This team is really immature, young team. The rebuild right now, you just think about like young people, immaturity, etc. They need growth, they need life lessons. So the album is Red. There's also a lot of like feelings and stuff on there. Like, we've been pretty emotional about this team. There's a song about like what color love is, or like, the feelings and the colors associated with it. They put us on an emotional roller coaster. So Red for me is the album of this rebuild. And obviously I didn't even think about this when I chose Red, but the sweaters, obviously the Canadiens uniform is red. So I'm going with Red for that answer. And thank you for the question.
I don't really have an answer. I'll save the best one, and you guys can fight about it in the comments. So, there you go. Moving on, let's head over to Claude Sauvé. Hi guys, I hope I'm wrong, but it seems like the acquisition of Carrier is a little like shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. On the surface, seems like we acquired an older, smaller player with less impressive stats for an additional $2.6 million. I don't get it. I'm hoping the decision was based on professional scouting reports and not simply appeasing the fan base and media by adding a player from Quebec. I don't think that was it at all.
No.
I think that's always a benefit if there's a
bonus.
play. Yeah, it's a play. If, like, if two things being equal, if the players had like matching cap hits, matching stats, matching, the same, they shot the same way, they were the same size, but one of
Equally
them,
handsome.
yes, but one of them is from Montreal and the other's from Nebraska, they're going to go for the guy from Montreal. Like, that's honestly, it helps you make decisions if all things are equal like that. I think what we've seen through Carrier's first couple of games is a defenseman who really calms things down. He's a calming influence. He makes the smart play more often than not. He's not flashy. Barron had offensive upside that we never really saw extended glimpses of, and his defensive play was bad. He was just bad in the defensive zone. He could not handle it. So I mean, that's, to me anyway. I don't think it's rearranging deck chairs. I think they're trying to give this team, the team that's on the ice now, the chance to be better than they have been.
Yeah. When you put something on the stove or in the oven and it just does not cook, like a turkey or something like that, and you just wait and wait and you wait and you wait, and it does not cook, and then you give up and you go out and you order a fully cooked one instead to arrive at your house. Like, that's what I look at this. Like Justin Barron, you were waiting and waiting and waiting, and he was not cooking. He literally was not. And then you find a fully cooked one and you bring him in. And it's already helping Caden Gooley. So for me,
Yeah.
I think the decision was more based on, and if you listen to our Monday episode this week, we did talk a little bit about that, about what he's going to bring to this team. And I think that the decision was deeper than just replacing a guy that isn't working with one that works. I think it's more long-term development possibilities for other players on this team as well.
Yeah. We'll head back to Jordan Roberts. Half of his question we answered last episode. We'll answer the other half now and actually make a small tweak to it. So if you could have one Christmas wish to finish out the last 6 games of the year, what would it be? Let's just stretch this a little bit into the rest of the season, right? Let's say, like, if you could wish for a few things for the Canadiens for the rest of the year, where would you start?
I think the first thing is Kirby Dach to find his game again. We
Yeah.
did talk about that in the previous segment, and it's not to be cruel or to keep hammering on the guy. I just think, if he's able to put together a string of good games towards the end of the season, it's gonna bring him closer to fully developing to his potential that we want to see.
Yeah, that's an easy one, right? Another easy one is a backup goalie.
I was literally about to say that.
Yeah, like there's a couple of slam dunks here, right? Montembeault cannot afford to play as much as he has been playing. The Canadiens cannot afford to be playing Montembeault as much as they have been playing him.
Mhm.
So whether that's Jakob Dobeš or some other goalie that's floating around out there that nobody else knows about, that Montreal can bring in and have him, give Montembeault the night off every once in a while. I think that needs to be an easy win for the Canadiens honestly the next few weeks. They need to figure this out because Montembeault is going to go to the Four Nations. He's not getting that break.
No.
Right, a lot of players are getting that week off, and then the Canadiens have the following week as their bye week. Like,
they're all going to
Montembeault's
like Turks and Caicos or whatever.
Yeah,
and
they're all
he's
going to hang
working.
out. Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield are going to the beach. Like,
Yeah.
it's like they're not going to play those games, so they need to figure that out. It's another easy win for me.
And for me, one of them is, obviously we're talking 2025. Come July development camp, Ivan Demidov shows up in Montreal and never looks back. Never looks back.
Yeah, by the time we get over into the new year, we will be in the same year that we see Ivan Demidov play in Montreal.
Yeah.
That's pretty great, right?
I'm
Like,
very
that's
excited about that.
it's something like, the way that I was looking forward to Patty Laine playing in Montreal, very similar thought
Mhm.
of, I cannot wait to see Ivan Demidov come over here. And I hope that his KHL team doesn't mess him up too bad, and that he's able to come over here and be a functional, rookie star for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. For our next switch, I'm kind of torn because we want to see this team improve. We've loved the wins that they've been able to put together as of late. But I still want a fairly high draft pick in the first round for the Montreal Canadiens. I want them to progress, but I still want a top 10 pick for them.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm of the impression that I think if they pick between 5 and 10, I don't think they're picking. If you understand what I mean, I think they're moving that for help next season. Maybe another right shot defenseman, maybe another center, maybe a strong winger. Like, I think that if they're going to get somebody who is not going to be here for 3 or 4 years and not having like an NHL level impact for like 4 or 5 years, I think that the choice to move those picks for a guy who can step in and be an NHL impact immediately is the way that they go. But all of that only happens if, like you said, they pick high, right? They're going to have a couple. They have theirs, and then whatever's happening with that Calgary, Florida nonsense you pick. Someone just wake me up when that's decided. Okay, I will not care about I do not care about reading the conditions ever again. Just tell me when we have it figured out.
I think you were the one that explained it to me the last time.
Yeah, and I don't even remember it because it doesn't matter. And the people who made that pick should be banned from the NHL, and that means you too, Ken Hughes. That was a terrible thing that you did to all of us.
I know. All right. Do we have any more questions, or are we done?
Nope, that's it. Let's wrap.
All right, wrap up. As you know, we took a little break from trivia for the holiday period. We will be back after the Florida road trip. So make sure you are subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We want to thank everyone for your support. We love and appreciate you so much. And we will be picking our winner, obviously, next week. Back with trivia, back with game recaps, all of that kind of stuff. So you'll find us on social media. We're on TikTok at Locked On Canadiens. We are at Instagram at Locked On Canadiens. Our Gmail is Locked On Canadiens. We are on Blue Sky at Locked On Canadiens. Everywhere you'll find us at Locked On Canadiens. That's where we're posting. You'll find my co-host everywhere. Maybe it's Ian. You'll find me at The Actistic. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you all next week.